What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. And today I'm just chilling. It's Christmas Day. Merry Christmas, everyone. And I come across this video on YouTube by someone I'm subscribed to, Jameson's Travels. It says military TikTok hates the military. Do not enlist. Now, that's not what this video is about. Is basically he's reacting to military TikTokers who are not too fond with the military and don't recommend that you join. And his video is basically defending the military for the most part. So he is kind of countering what they're saying. But I actually want to react to some of those videos, the same ones that he reacted to, maybe some more, and talk about how actually I don't totally disagree with most of what they're saying. I've been through it, U.S. Army, 8 years. I've been around several different countries, gone through it all. Okay, so, been to war, went to Iraq, March 2003, right at the beginning. Pretty much have done most of what you can do in the U.S. Army. I got pretty decent experience there in the U.S. Army. I've been overseas. I just mentioned Iraq, but I've also been stationed overseas in Korea, stateside, all over the place. Been to 4 or 5 different countries. So I've been through, had a pretty eventful Army career. And when I look back, I definitely think I shouldn't have joined. I'm not going to say I regret it per se because, your decisions are your decisions. And if I hadn't joined, I don't know what my life would look like today. Maybe better, maybe worse. And I'm still definitely enjoying many benefits from being a veteran. There's no doubt about that. But I don't think it was a good decision. And if I could tell my young 20-year-old self, I can get on the phone with that guy, I would be like, bro, you don't need to join the Army, bro. You're smart enough. You can go to college. There are means to do it. And I would explain to him, what you need to do. And it would not be joining the Army. I would say, bro, this is not for you. And I'm telling you, it's not in my opinion, for a lot of people. Now, there's some people maybe for. So it's definitely a case-by-case thing. You can't just say, hey, don't join the Army, no matter who you are. No, some people love the Army. Some people freaking love it. So how can I say nobody should join? And of course, if nobody joins, we got a problem. Then we're going to have a draft or something because we need to have a military to defend our country. So let's check out some of these, and I'm going to let you know my thoughts. And I agree with them. 5 reasons not to join the military.
These are my top 5 reasons on why you shouldn't join the military. Reason number 1 is pay. We do not get paid enough for what we do. I'm not here to say that we get paid pennies. I'm just saying that we don't get paid enough to perform the mission that is tasked to us.
I didn't really have a big issue with the pay, to be quite honest, when I was in. In fact, we got paid quite a bit when you consider you don't have to pay for housing, you don't have to pay for food. You can go out to eat, occasionally, but you don't have to pay for like your bills, and your costs are really way down there since all that's, and you still get decent pay. It's not minimum wage. So I agree to the extent that you're going and you're defending your country, you're putting your life on the line. Obviously, you're not going to get paid enough, but because, there's only so much money to go around, they can't just pay, we can't make everyone a millionaire here, can't pay everyone 6 figures in the Army. So I was okay with that. I blew it when I was in because I didn't save money. I didn't invest money. I didn't know what I was doing with money at that point. I just spent everything. But I feel like the pay is not too terrible.
Reason number 2, family. You will not see your family often. You might see them on holidays, and that's about it. I can elaborate. Reason number 3.
I didn't have a family when I was in, so I can't really speak on that too much. You do get to see your family when it's peacetime and if you're in a decent unit, but the problem is you don't get to pick that. You don't get to pick what unit you go to for the most part, when they're going to the field, when they're getting deployed, how long they're going to be deployed. So definitely you're going to be away from your family a lot. And a lot more than you would like to be, and a lot more than you would be in a normal job. That kind of goes with the territory. I think everyone kind of understands that. Yeah, you're not going to see them as much as you would in a normal, everyday civilian job.
3, schooling. Now I know you're like, whoa, that was a benefit, but it's requirements you have to meet first to be able to get to that schooling. So if you're thinking about joining because of schooling, just go to school. Reason number.
I like that. If you're thinking about joining because of schooling, just go to school. Don't get me wrong. When you're in, you could take classes completely free. I don't pay. I took classes when I was in. I went to college. I actually started college before I went in. I was struggling to pay for it. And that's one of the big reasons I joined. But when I look back, I was just stupid. I could have easily just stayed at home with my parents, lived with them, and gone to college. I had a job, and I could have made it work at the time. I could have made it work. Junior college, not that expensive in California. Didn't Different states might be different. Even if I didn't do that, I could come up with a plan. You know, work for a year or two, save up money. It's hell of a lot better than going to the Army. I mean, the Army, yes, you get free schooling and then you get the GI Bill when you get out, which I took advantage of. I got a bachelor's degree after I got out, and I didn't pay for any of it. In fact, I got to pocket a lot of the money. There's definitely some benefits, and I'm not sure what he's talking about. You know, yeah, maybe if you don't have, I don't know what he's talking about. You need some extra requirements before you can go to school, because I pretty much immediately was able to start taking classes and things like that when I went in. But if you're going in just for school, I would tell you try to see if there's another way, because I'm not going to recommend student loans. I didn't even know about student loans. Student loans are a thing, though. And looking back, I would have rather done student loans than go to the Army, although I don't recommend student loans because you're putting yourself into debt, and sometimes really deep, bad debt. I would instead try to cash flow it, try to save up for it. Stay home with your parents if you have to, whatever the case, for a million different reasons of why the military sucked for me and why some of these people are thinking it sucked. You don't want to go just for schooling. If you're going just to go to school, unless there's absolutely no other way, I would try to just go to school, to try to find a way to go to college, you know, apply for grants, apply for anything you can, scholarships, whatever the case. I know that this stuff doesn't apply to everyone, but you do not want to go to the Army just for the schooling, which is kind of what I did.
Number 4, if you're a parent. Now, if you join single and get married and then have kids, that's one thing. But if you're already having a child and you're thinking about joining, don't. You got to think about it. Boot camp is between 6 to 8 weeks. After boot camp, you go to school. That's between 10 days to a year. After that, you go to deployment. That's between 8 months to 9 months. Think about how much time you miss with your child.
Definitely he's right about the basic training, and definitely he's right about AIT, which is the schooling that you go to learn your job. And deployment, I'm not really sure about that. I mean, you're not going to automatically get deployed immediately. You might be able to put CONUS only, Continental United States only when you join, and they'll make sure to station you stateside. You won't have to just get deployed right away, although your unit could always get deployed at any point in time. That's definitely a possibility, but you're definitely going to, you're not going to see your kid for a few months, while you're at basic training in AIT. That's guaranteed. So what he's saying is true, but again, you know this going in. So consider that when you go in. Everyone has to consider that. If you have a kid, you consider that before you go in. You're not going to be seeing your kid for quite a while. You got to make sure you have plans on how that's going to work. So again, pretty obvious stuff.
Reason number 5, you do not have 100% say on what you want to do. And I can elaborate. These are my top 5.
He needed to elaborate on that, because every job you don't have 100% say in what you're going to do. Every single job, and that's what Jameson said. That's the real world, right? But when you talk about you don't have 100% say in what you're going to do, that's one of the biggest problems in the Army, lack of freedom. There's almost none. You don't even have 100% say in what you're going to do when you're off work. I mean, again, no one has 100% say in what you're going to do because you got to follow the law and everything. But I'm talking about you can't even drive to a different town without getting a pass. Like, you're an adult. Like, I got to get a pass to go to a town down the road a little bit, a few miles outside of town. You need a pass, at least when I was in. If something goes wrong when you're off work, you get a little ticket, a little traffic ticket or something, your unit's going to find out. Your superiors are going to find out. You're going to get in trouble. Like, what? I'm in trouble at work for getting a traffic ticket? Everywhere you go, if you see someone who outranks you walking around, that's your boss. We won't use that terminology, but to use civilian terminology, that's your boss. And they can yell at you and will yell at you for any reason. So it's just wild. And that's the biggest thing about the Army. It's just crazy. It's like you're working 24 hours a day everywhere you go. It's like if you were working at McDonald's and you got off work and finally off work. And you want to go enjoy yourself, drive around, go to the club, go to whatever you do for fun. And but everywhere you see is McDonald's bosses everywhere. Hey, I want those fries. I want that. It's like, what? McDonald's. Like, you would freaking lose your mind. That's the Army. It never stops. It never goes away. It's just a part of your everyday life. The only way you can escape it is by going on leave when you go home, and even then, you have to constantly call, check in, and all this, and you gotta get approved for it. It's just they might call you, check in on you. It's like you feel like you're on probation or something, like you got in trouble, like this is a punishment. It's definitely far from a normal job. So, and hence why don't just go there just to go to school. Understand But I elaborate on that last one for you.
5 reasons not to join the military in 2023. Okay, first of all, popular contrary belief in movies, you cannot relocate once you have been moved out or permanent change of station to your spot in the military. So you can either have a really great location or a really bad location. For example, I got stationed in El Paso, Texas. There's literally nothing to do. It's really hot, and that's about 50% of the reason that I got out the military.
I spent time in El Paso as well. I personally thought El Paso was pretty cool. And, this thing of nothing to do, I hear that. Every city has stuff to do. It just depends on what you like to do. You think El Paso doesn't have clubs? El Paso doesn't have sports? El Paso has stuff to do. Just maybe it's not Los Angeles or New York. So, sure, you're going to probably be in some city somewhere, some town somewhere that is not the most hopping city in America, but not really sure what the complaint was there. But yeah, you don't get to pick where you're going to go, and you're going to get sent. In some cases you can negotiate where you're going to go, at least for your first initial base. But after that, yeah, they're going to send you wherever, and you could end up going overseas. Part of the deal. But if you don't know yourself, if you're adventurous, you want to go to new places, new towns, new cities, new countries. That could be a positive, but at the same time, you're still in the Army. And the Army kind of overshadows whatever city, whatever country, wherever your state, whatever you're at, whatever culture you're trying to enjoy, the Army is going to kind of overshadow that for the most part. You will have some chances to get out, to escape. I say, get a pass, get the hell out, try to explore. You'll have some 4-day weekends, but by and large, to me, it ain't worth it.
I believe people think you can get rich in the military somehow. In fact, it's the complete opposite. If you're just coming in, you're making about $1,600 per month. That's about $20,000 per year. That is well below poverty level, and even as
I'm just going to be just straight real with it. I don't recommend most people join the Army, but you don't have to pay for housing. You don't have to pay for rent. You don't have to pay for food even, except on the occasion you want to go out to eat, you can, but you have all that stuff is free. So $1,600 a month doesn't sound like much. It might be below the poverty level, but when you have no bills, it's not too bad.
As an officer, people on the outside would be making twice as more. Next, if you have kids, the military doesn't really help a lot with that. In fact, they do have daycares, but they're very poorly set up. And on top of all that, they can be very expensive. Next, if you're trying to impress a guy or a girl, this probably is not the best thing to do. You would be signing up for something that could take you away from your hometown, probably never see this person again, and they probably don't care. And lastly, if you're looking for stability in regards to...
So touching on number 3, obviously I talked about that. I don't have a kid, so obviously that's going to be a big negative if you do when you join. Number 4, why would you join? To impress a guy or a girl? That makes no sense anyway. Like he said, don't do that. It's not going to help, probably. Number 5, he's about to talk about very little spare time. There is 4-day weekends. You will have some spare time, but you will have blocks of time, months taken away out in the field, out deployed, training. You'll have 16-hour days, and you'll just be doing. One of the expressions in the Army is "hurry up and wait." You're just going to have to take part in nonsensical activities that you don't know what you're doing, where you're going. You get yelled at to hurry, and then you wait for a long time. I remember one time before we deployed to Iraq, we had to put all of the Humvees and the vehicles on trains, and we worked 16, 18 hours. I don't know, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, when we finally got all of the vehicles all hooked up to this long train. We were just hooking up chains, and it was really hard work. And then after it was all done, the commander came out and said, okay, now take them off. Take them off. They're actually going on a plane. They're not going on the train. And I shit you not, for the next 6, 7, 8 hours, we were just undoing all the hard work we did. I can't even describe how pissed off we were, but that's the Army for you.
It's a personal time. You might want to go somewhere else. So yeah, you do have paid time off in the military called as leave, but that's very subjective and can be taken away in regards to what's going on in the world or your mission. So be sure to follow me for more, guys. I'm back. Okay, guys, let's get...
And the comments, I disagreed, retired at 37, 3 homes, put 3 children through college minimum debt. There's positives to joining. Nobody's saying there's not. But, would you just do anything for, you're not going to just do anything for certain benefits. Like, hey, I'm going to give you a bunch of money. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to get food for you. I'm going to do this and this and this and this. And you're like, okay, sounds good. Oh, but you're going to have to go through this terrible thing. Well, then you have to consider it. So, I've done a video on the pros and the cons. I think there's more cons than pros for me. I don't think I should have joined. I don't think it was the right decision. The fact is, the biggest thing about it before I go is you can't quit. You cannot quit the Army. You could get the worst, and I did, the most horrific boss, the most horrific superior who treats you like complete crap and is on just a complete power trip, and you're screwed. You're stuck with that person. You're stuck. You cannot say, you know what, I'm out. I quit. You can't there's no 2-week notice. There's no 2-week notice. It's a maybe a 2-year, 3-year, 4-year, 5, 6, 7, 8-year commitment, depending on how long you sign up for. There are jobs that 2 years, if you're into fixing cars, if you're into like a mechanic work, which I've gotten into since I've gotten out. But at the time I went in, I really didn't know anything about that. If you're into that, there are, at least when I was in, there was 2-year jobs as a mechanic. I would say, please do the 2-year, because if you hate it, at least it's just 2 years, you get the heck out. But, and if you want to re-enlist, you can. But there's a million reasons I could go on for 12 hours on the reasons I generally don't recommend the Army or the military. I think it's a pretty miserable life, for me anyway. Compared to civilian life, I mean, it's night and day. Compared to a civilian job, when you go to work, hey, Frank, how you doing today? You can talk to people like human beings. You can talk to people like adults, and you can just do your job, and you get off work, and then you are free to live your life and enjoy yourself and find some happiness somewhere. Army is the exact opposite of that. The Army, you go to work and, well, first you go to PT, which is good. You exercise, but guess what? I exercise to this day. I just do it on my own time. I go to the gym. So if you are like so unable to self-motivate that you need them to drag your ass out of bed at 5 a.m. to go run, well, then maybe that's a benefit for you. For me, that was not a benefit. But first you go to PT and you run or you work out and you do that, you do your exercise. Then you go home and you change, and then you go to, report to your job formation. And then you have to be at your job for 7-8 hours plus, sometimes 10, sometimes 12, sometimes, however long it takes, which is, miserable, as a miserable job should be. But then when you're off, like I mentioned before, you remain at your job, in a manner of speaking. If you're on base, you're surrounded by Army stuff. You go off base, there's still Army stuff and Army people all over. And you still have to treat your superiors like they're gods. If you see an officer, hey, sir, you see a non-commissioned officer outrank you. I mean, it's just pathetic. It's not for me. It's not for me. You don't have to shout like that. That was just a little joke, but it's a lifestyle that you have to embrace from the beginning. You have to be like, I love the Army, and love all things Army. If you don't love all things Army and you want that extra, those ribbons and rank and you just love the parade rest and all the military and this march, and you just gotta embrace all that and love it, because you are going to be surrounded by it 24/7.